What?
I don't know how to do it on a Mac. Is that?
There we go. Yeah, it's in your book. I was not.
All right, good evening, everybody. It wouldn't be a hybrid meeting if we didn't have technical issues. So thank you all for your patience on that, especially for folks joining us online. I know that you can see some of the frenzied tech support that we've got going on in the room, but thank you for your patience. And we are still waiting on a number of commissioners who are making their way here tonight. And so we'll gracefully let them enter the room when they do arrive. But good evening. This is a meeting of the Sustainability and Climate Commission. I'm your Chief Sustainability Officer, Vivian Satterfield. It's great to be back in person and to see everybody. I wanted to at least offer one acknowledgement of a commissioner that has an excused absence tonight. Commissioner Ruiz is accepting a Clean Air Champion Award from Neighbors from Clean Air. So yes, jazz hands for sure for Commissioner Ruiz, who's very, very active in all the communities that she's a part of. And so very, very pleased that Neighbors for Clean Air is recognizing her incredible advocacy and contributions to the city as a clean air advocate. Also, you'll see for folks in the room today, you'll see a slightly different configuration for who is seated in this front part of the room. We now have elected co-chairs selected by all of you, Commissioner Taylor and Commissioner Guillermo, sorry, pardon me, Gorgensen. So thank you both so much for being here. And in the future, they'll also be helping to facilitate the meeting. So pleased to be able to work alongside both of you in this work. Thank you for your leadership and thank you for standing up. I have a lot of thoughts I actually wanted to convey, and so I'm going to try to shorten my comments today. I'm coming off of a pretty impactful trip that I just was able to take with some members of the Portland Clean Energy Fund and Mayor Wilson to the C40 Cities Summit gathering, the local leaders forum ahead of the international COP negotiations. And so I'm hoping I can bring some of those ideas and energies back, but wanted to offer that it was an opportunity for 97 cities worldwide to come together. And there was such a strong presence from North American cities. And I think that's really impactful at a time in which cities really truly are offering leadership on climate. They're closest to the people, closest on the issues, and are delivering solutions. We're at a time in which the US federal government is actively denying the reality of climate science and the reality that our communities face. And so to be able to see a really strong showing from US cities, from the mayoral delegations is actually impactful. It is important at this time. Wanted to also share that, the international, formally it's been known as the negotiations around climate, but the emphasis of not just the summit that I attended, but also in the closing and waning days of the international conversations, there's an emphasis that we must move into action. And I want to recognize that the commissioners who are seated here have continuously, in your own ways, emphasized not just the importance of some of the foundational planning work that we're doing here together, and today's meeting agenda is going to reflect some of that additional orientation, learning, planning, and setting foundational work, but we're also here to springboard directly into action. And so would encourage us all to not think of this as a pause or something that is slowing us down to do the foundational work. We are all committed, not just here locally, but also recognizing the importance of driving into action. In fact, the COP negotiations, it's about being firm on the strategy and then holding one another accountable into action. And so I want to, as the CSO here and alongside all of you, continue to find the ways that we can motivate and springboard into action, because the world can't wait and we've signed up to do this work. So I'm very privileged to do that alongside of you. Part of also I'm inspired by kind of bringing from the international down to, our little segment, corner pocket of the world here in Oregon, was very pleased to see that the Oregon governor also released another executive order related to the energy strategy. And, again, we have an incredible governor who is in office to also motivate us and to pass executive orders and strategies that, again, move us into action. So while the city of Portland is still doing further analysis on the implications of that EO, I just wanted to convey just the momentum that's happening. And it's not just trickling down to us, it is really things that we're all doing in concert together in order to move into action. So that is the through line that I'm currently seeing, and hopefully we can bring some of that energy into tonight's meeting as well. So with that, I'll keep my comments short and pass it off to our facilitator for this evening, Camille. Thanks for being here.
Good evening, commissioners and community members. As a reminder, my name is Camille Chummer. I use pronouns like she and her. I'm the founder of Interplay. We're a local social impact firm, and we're very excited to facilitate tonight's meeting. But I do have some bittersweet news. This is my last meeting that I'll be facilitating because you have co-chairs who will be facilitating future meetings. So it's very exciting to have both of those commissioners leading your next meeting starting in December. Commissioners, do you want to take a quick moment to introduce yourselves? This is the first time that you're going to be engaging with the commission as their first co-chairs. Commissioner Taylor?
Yeah, my name's Issa Taylor. I'm a current senior at Ida Wells High School, and I've been involved in climate work for the past few years, and I'm your co-chair.
Love it.
Jose Gamero Georgeson, he, him, el pronouns. I'm in District 1. I am on the David School Board as well as the incoming president-elect for the Oregon School Boards Association. I have a background in, I have a degree in environmental science, but I do a lot of policy work, especially around education, community. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you both. All right, we can officially start the meeting and advance to the next slide. Okay. I'm having tech difficulties because my Zoom is not caught up with your Zoom, Elaine, so I'll just be shifting back and forth. All right, so this is our agenda for this evening. A couple of reminders. We're going to be adjusting the timestamps here since we started a little bit late, but we'll do our best to conclude on time and make sure that you have your 10-minute break. But this is a snapshot of the agenda. We can advance to the next slide. Okay. And we will start with meeting introductions and reminders. And we have a few notes about tonight's meeting, as well as we will be reviewing working agreements. And then we will, thank you, talk about process improvements from the last meeting, because you all provided really great feedback from last meeting that we're now incorporating some of those tweaks into this meeting. Okay. So. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so just a reminder about tonight's meeting and all subsequent meetings. This meeting is recorded via Zoom and will be posted online for transparency. Commissioners, I just want to have a quick reminder that your Zoom name reflects your title. So if you are a commissioner that has voting authority, I want you to put COMM dot with your first and your last name so I can see clearly who you are. Otherwise, if it's longer, Zoom truncates it and I can't actually see who's raising their hand. The same goes for any alternates. I'd love for you to put ALT period so I can see that you're an alternate, okay? A reminder about our protocols for speaking. You must raise your hand in Zoom so that I can see a cue and call on people as they're raising their hands. And so that, most importantly, I don't miss anyone. So just a reminder to use the raise the hand button via Zoom if you would like to speak, and I'd be happy to call on you. As a reminder, before you speak, you state your name, your title, and any pronouns that you'd like to use every time you speak. And then for public comment, individuals will be called on by myself during the public comment agenda time so that we can hear from those folks. And as a reminder, all materials that are shared during this meeting can always be found on the meeting's event page at that URL. If you're experiencing any tech difficulties during this evening, which I guarantee you there will be, your tech person is Wing. Wing, can you wave your hand, please? Wing's over there ready to help. So just signal or let me know that you need tech help, and Wing is ready to help you out. Okay, perfect. Okay. A reminder about our working agreements. These are the working agreements for this meeting, with a caveat that you will be continuing to refine these and hopefully finalize these working agreements during this evening's meeting. So we'll use the interim working agreements that you have in front of you right now, and then we'll revisit these working agreements later in today's agenda. So just a reminder, you want to listen to understand, not to respond. You want to use the WAIT framework. Why am I talking? Assume good intent, but attend to impact. Be willing to make mistakes and be forgiving of those who do, because we all do them. Allow for and appreciate disagreement of opinions, ideas, methods respectfully. Okay? All right. Process improvements. So based on the feedback forms that you all filled out after each meeting, thank you all for those of you who do that. We take your feedback very much. We've considered all of the feedback that we've received and we've done some process improvements. So starting with today's meeting, we're going to do what I call agenda refreshers. So throughout the evening, I'm going to flip back to the agenda slide. Actually, Elaine's going to do that work. Flip back to the agenda slide just to reorient you of where we are in the agenda, especially if the timestamps, which they already don't match up with the agenda that you have on your agenda if you're looking at the version that's on the website. So I'll just provide a little refresher. This is where we're at. These are our objectives for this section of the agenda. This is what's coming up next, okay? Also, quorum. Okay, so in order for Elaine to be fully prepared and the entire team to be fully prepared for each meeting, we need to know that we are going to achieve quorum. So that means before the meeting, preferably days before the meeting, you send your RSVP, letting Elaine know whether you will attend in person, or if you have a conflict, please let her know early so that she can account for that. And then we tried in the last meeting to amend the working agreements, and we found out very quickly via tech that was really hard to do in real time, especially when people were in the chat and people were verbalizing amendments. So we are going to attempt to do a new process where we're documenting amendments in real time. I think there will be tech challenges, but we're going to work through them. Wing's going to help us. A lot of pressure on you, Wing. So we're going to attempt to do that in real time where you'll have the opportunity to see everything that's been discussed in one place and then propose amendments via the chat and see how those amendments are showing up in that same place in real time. It'll all make sense later, but we're going to try this, okay? And then last but not least, we are going to practice and hopefully conduct a vote on those amendments. So we'll do a practice round so you all get familiar with how a voting model works using modified consensus with reservation. And then we'll actually do a vote when you vote on your revised amendments to your working agreements. Make sense? Okay, cool. So those are our process agreements. Okay. So let's talk about how the revision process is going to work for documents, not just for the working agreements, but theoretically for all documents that you work on as a commission moving forward. This is basically a best practice that we're attempting to test and refine over time to allow for folks to engage with materials in a productive and meaningful way, but also leaning towards some level of efficiency because y'all have a lot of work to do between now and the work that you have ahead of you. So what we will do is staff will send draft materials to commissioners for review. You should be used to that. Elaine sends those via email and gives you a very hard deadline. This is when we need to have feedback from you submitted. You can use track changes and comments for all edits and feedback. So whatever document Elaine has sent, she will send it in a way that you are able to edit it virtually and you can submit comments or track changes. You will need to send your edited draft back to Elaine by the Monday, the week before each meeting, okay? So it would have been last Monday that you would have submitted your proposed revisions to the working agreement so that we can look at them and refine them together tonight. Individual edits from each commissioner will be compiled in what I call an all up. So it's the centralized document that has everyone's track changes and edits. And that will be posted 1 week prior to the meeting to give you a sense of, oh, what have all the other commissioners been up to in addition to the feedback that I submitted? So you can be prepared to talk about those amendments in the meeting rather than getting caught up in the meeting about those edits that have been tracked from different commissioners. And then additional amendments can be made during your meeting, which is what we're going to test out this evening. Does that make sense as a process? Okay, so we'll test it out. If you have feedback, feel free to share it in real time, but most importantly, share it in the feedback form this evening, okay? Perfect. Okay. Commissioner Kaza, you have a question?
Stephanie Kaza, Commissioner D3, she, her. Yes, a request perhaps. I just wrote down those actual dates of the Monday before and the Thursday before. So when the documents go out, perhaps each month, we can put that on our calendar.
Yeah.
December 8th is when and December 11th, they'll be posted and.
Yes,
I
that's a
just
great
wanted to-
recommendation. I'm pretty sure Elaine will include those in your weekly high fives as well. But if a request for a calendar appointment or some type of reminder is helpful, I think that's a great recommendation. Noted, thank you. Okay. Okay, so here's how amending documents during meetings is going to happen. So we talked about the work before the meeting, the pre-work. Now this is how it's theoretically going to go this evening. So staff will display that all-up draft that I mentioned a moment ago with the draft version for live review and editing. So theoretically, you will have seen that. You'll say, this looks familiar, and maybe you have some new thoughts about it, or you're ready and prepared to share your thoughts and kind of contextualize the comments or the edits that you've proposed with your fellow commissioners so they have that context. Live amendments must be typed into the chat so staff can copy them into the all-up draft in real time. So this is very important. You will not be verbalizing your amendments or your revisions. You will be entering them into the chat because Wing is going to be copying those verbatim and then applying them to the live document so you can see how those changes impact or complement or create more complexity with the rest of the edits that are in the document. You as commissioners can then discuss all amendments via the all-up file. And proposals can move to voting, but they must clearly specify what text is being considered. So it's not enough for you to say, I want to move to a vote to approve this set of amendments. You have to say the exact amendments in question, so it's very clear, especially for the record, and for everybody, or for anybody that might be just listening and not having access to the file in front of them so that they can hear exactly what you're referring to and that there's no confusion. Proposals for voting may be specific amendments, so just like I mentioned, or many amendments under one vote. So a commissioner can say, hey, I think this looks great. I'm hearing consensus from the rest of the commissioners. I vote to approve all of the amendments in one batch so that we can finalize this working agreement for example. Proposals are then approved through modified consensus, and we'll demonstrate what that looks like and feels like in a moment. So that's the model and the best practice for amending documents during meetings. Does that make sense to everyone? Does anybody have any questions? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to test drive this. Y'all ready? We're going to show you an example of an all-up file. There may be some tech challenges because to stream it, we've seen that there's a little bit of a delay, but we're now going to show you what this all-up file could look like. Okay. It's not showing on my screen, so I'm going to turn it around. Oh, there it is. Took a while. Perfect. Okay, so we see how there are track changes from Commissioner Kaza that I see on my screen, and that there are different edits to this file. So theoretically, if you wanted to add an additional revision to this file, you would draft that revision in the chat box and submit it in the chat box. Wing would then copy and paste and submit it into this file, and we should be able to see that in real time. Do we want to test drive that? Wing, do you want to test drive that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and actually put a revision in the chat,
Okay, perfect.
and everyone should be logged into Zoom. If you're not, by the way, once we finish.
Please.
this,
Wing, oop, you need to talk into a microphone because those online can't hear you.
So I'm gonna go ahead and put a test revision into the chat. And with that, actually, everyone here should be logged into Zoom. If you're not or having troubles, please let me know after this and I'll help you out. And then I'm going to copy that and paste it into the document that you should see happen live.
Okay, so we can see that Wing has entered I'm submitting a test revision in the chat. Okay,
That was fairly quick. You should see it in the document.
yep, I see it at the top. Does everybody see that at the top in green? Perfect. Easy peasy. Okay, thanks, Wing. All right, any questions about this process? Okay, great. If you have any feedback or recommendations for improving this process as you move through it in future meetings, please submit those ideas via the feedback form. You'll learn sooner rather than later whether it's a process that works for everyone or if there should be some refinements. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's talk about our interim voting procedures. And I say interim because the voting procedures actually need to be entered into the bylaws, and the bylaws committee just started and is working furiously. So we're moving forward with these interim voting procedures with a caveat that they may or may not change, but they will be codified in the bylaws soon. So commissioners will make a proposal for a vote. So any commissioner around the table is able to make a proposal for a vote. The facilitator, myself, or the co-chairs will call the vote of the proposal, and then you'll use modified consensus. As a reminder, modified consensus works as a commissioner, you can vote affirmative, which means you agree with the proposal. You can vote stand aside, meaning affirmative, but with some stated and unresolved concerns. You have concerns with the proposal, but you are willing to implement it if the proposal moves forward by majority. And you can also vote no. That means you do not agree with the proposal and you have serious concerns. An item passes when the votes casted as affirmative and stand aside is equal to or greater than simple majority. Any questions about modified consensus with reservation? Okay. All right. All right, so we are going to practice this voting framework, okay? So as a reminder, any commissioner can make a proposal for a vote. The way that you do that is by stating your name, any pronouns, and the voting statement. So what are you proposing that the commission vote on? An example would be, I would like to vote on a proposal to purchase only vegetarian food at commission meetings and events. Or I propose we vote to approve all amendments in section 2, vegetarian only, of the commission menu rules. Those are just theoretical examples. They may be something that y'all are interested in, but those are ways to frame your vote. The facilitator or the co-chairs would then call the vote, and then you would use your modified consensus framework. You either vote affirmative, stand aside, or no, and then there's a passage with affirmative and stand aside as equal or greater to simple majority. Okay, we ready to test drive this, y'all? All right, let's do it. So would a commissioner like to model how you would enter a proposal for a vote? Don't be shy. You won't mess it up, I promise. This is why we're practicing. Yes.
Greg Ritsinas, District 2, he, him. I'd like to propose that we commend the city of Portland for leaning into the COP local summit and going there and taking the effort to go there. And hopefully will lead to great things.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. I'll call for a vote. Those that are voting affirmative, please raise your hand in Zoom. Great. Thank you. So in this process, we'll need to allow a little bit of time for Elaine to tally the votes. Okay, and then I would say those that are stand aside, please cast your vote via Zoom.
We need to lower our hands.
Yep,
Yes.
exactly. So then you need to lower your hands if you've already voted. Good catch, Commissioner Kaza. And then those who are voting no, please cast your vote via Zoom. Okay, thank you. And then there would be possibly a little bit of a delay while Elaine tallies to make sure that there's an easy vote or a clean vote that we can say whether the passage has passed or not. Okay, see, that was easy, right? We got it. Okay, so if you have any questions about that process. Oh, that's okay. It's okay. It's a tech day. It's a tech evening. It's okay. Don't go to me. I don't want it. I don't want it, Commissioner Duck. But if you have any questions about this process or you freeze and you're not sure what you should do, it's okay. We can just start from the beginning and do our vote process as we need to. Okay. All right. All right. So a little bit of an agenda refresher. We are now transitioning to the next section in our agenda, which is the public comment period. The person's not online. Albert Kaufman's not here. Okay. Do we have any community members in person or online that would like to submit public comment at this time? Okay, no public comment. We can advance to the next agenda item. So we are transitioning again, and we are going to start with committee updates. So I'm gonna actually hand it over to Commissioner Taylor to talk about executive session.
Okay, yeah.
I know, there's a little bit of a delay. It's okay.
So me and my fellow co-chair Jorgensen have executive sessions. And so in these sessions, we meet with the Chief Sustainability Officer and the Commission Coordinator. We discuss communication structures and have a shared understanding of agenda setting processes. And so just to let off, feel free to reach out to me and Jose for any information or questions you might have. And not to name anyone, but thank you to everyone who's already contacted me and Jose. And so we as co-chairs have regular check-ins with the Sustainability and Climate Commissioner Coordinator. And yes, so we have regular check-ins, so feel free to come to us with any questions. Are there any questions so far? And so on Wednesday, November 12th, we had our first bylaws meeting. So the meeting materials are linked right there. And in the meeting, me and Commissioner Jorgensen were elected as co-chairs for the committee. And so at the meeting, we went over just the committee overview and expectations and went through a timeline. Our next meeting is on December 10th. And for some more information, alternate Holland Bird had to step down due to scheduling conflicts. And our first meeting was actually a shortened meeting, around an hour instead of the typical 2 hours. And we hope to have the bylaws draft submitted by March. And next week, Elaine's going to reach out to the bylaws committee to ask if we'd be willing to meet more often than monthly or for longer times, just so we can meet the March deadline. Are there any questions?
There was a question earlier this evening about bylaws. Did that get answered? Yeah, okay. All right, thanks, Commissioner Taylor. All right, y'all, we're gonna transition to our next agenda item. So just to recap, we've gone through meeting introduction and reminders. We had no public comment. We've now gone through committee updates, and we are now gonna transition to our briefing from the PSEP team, from Vision to Impact. So I'm excited to invite James and Raphael up from the Portland Clean Energy Fund to talk about PSEP.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Is this thing hot? Water doesn't slide down this podium. All right, I'm gonna turn my video on so that you can see all of us.
And James and Raphael, I'll just give you a time check.
Okay.
15.
Okay, thank you. We'll try to keep it pushing. And I just want to say good evening. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Raphael Tamarki. I use he, him pronouns. I am the External Affairs Manager for the Portland Clean Energy Community Benefits Fund also known as PSEF, and I am joined by my colleague.
Everybody, good to be with you all. James Valdez, he, him. Also at the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability on the PSEF team, where I work on strategic partnerships and policy for the fund. And Raphael's going to start us off here.
Yeah, and I should say, this is a bit of a primer. I'm sure many of you know something about PSEF. I'm not sure how much you know. We hope and plan to come back to do deep dives into some of our work. It's quite broad and it's current and it's evolving. But I think what we hope to do today is a little bit of storytelling. Again, a primer on how PSEF has grown from a grassroots vision into one of the most impactful climate investment programs in the country. We want to walk you through where we started, our origin story, for lack of a better word, what we're doing today, and the real outcomes we're seeing for Portlanders. Next slide, please. As an East Coast transplant, I always like to kind of start with the obvious. That Portland is beautiful. And I think that we often take for granted that the snow-capped mountains and winding rivers and ancient forests profoundly affect our values and our identity. And this place has long fostered a culture of environmental stewardship, but it's also increasingly vulnerable to climate change. From extreme heat to wildfire smoke to aging infrastructure, our work is about preparing all Portlanders, especially those most vulnerable, for a rapidly changing climate. Next slide, please. So what exactly is PSEF? Well, PSEF is the City of Portland's climate fund that centers community benefits. It's designed to reduce carbon emissions while addressing the immediate needs of frontline communities who feel the climate impacts most acutely. It's community-rooted, equity-driven, and results-focused. So it started with frontline communities, those hit first and worst by the climate crisis, communities that have too often been left out of decision-making. They came together and drafted a ballot measure, knocked on thousands of doors and passed it through people power alone. And they posed a very powerful question, simple. What if the people most impacted by climate change were the ones designing the solutions? Not just scientists or politicians, but your grandma who lived through 116-degree heat with no air conditioning, or a roofer who sees solar panels not as innovative green tech, but as tomorrow's paycheck. Or a single mom who doesn't need another task force, but needs lower energy bills and a tree outside her window to provide shade for her child to play under. What if climate solutions started in kitchens and church basements and on job sites and in schoolyards and not just council chambers and academic seminars? That is the key to, I think, the genius of PSEF. Because climate change isn't just about rising temperatures. It's about rising inequality. It's about working families forced to choose between groceries and their energy bill. It's about affordability. It's about low income and disenfranchised communities on the front lines without the resources to adapt. That is the necessity of PSEF, and that's why it came to be. And it's something that we don't take lightly. That is our DNA. And that's where the story of PSEF begins, not with policy, but with purpose. Not with a how, but with a why. Next slide, please. So PSEF exists, I think we've established, to help Portlanders navigate a changing climate and to assure that people most impacted are at the heart of our solutions. Our investments reduce emissions over time, and just as importantly, they deliver immediate tangible benefits. That may mean safer homes during heat waves, lower energy bills, job opportunities in the clean energy economy, healthier food access. Next slide, please.
All right, and then I'm going to do a little bit of storytelling of where we've been as a city in terms of climate goals and also where we need to be headed. And so this is a chart that also exists. I'll just put a plug in a BPS dashboard about the city and Multnomah County's emissions over time and some of the actions that have been taken to help lower those carbon emissions. But what you see here is really the trend line of starting with commitments that were made in 1990 as a reference year. And where we need to be to get to our net zero goals for the year 2050. And the interim goal of the 50% reduction from 1990 by 2030, which is just around the corner. And so what you can see is there was a slight increase leading up to 2000, and then there's been a lot of projects and efforts over and throughout the city and in our community to address carbon emissions, decarbonize electricity predominantly, and to reduce emissions in the transportation sector that have led to about a 26% or so reduction from where we are now, or technically 2023, from that 1990 baseline. However, as you see here, the sort of trend line for the last 15 years or so is that orange bar, and we need to accelerate the decline of that pretty rapidly to meet the 2030 goals. And so that is partially the task of PSEF. I also want to emphasize that it is not only the task of the Portland Clean Energy Fund to do this work and to make these investments in our community and to decarbonize really all the systems around us. It's going to take policy, it's going to take strategy, it's going to take other money outside of PSEF as well. And so you will probably at some point receive an even more in-depth presentation about our emissions, the sources, the different methodologies, but this is the high level. Go ahead and go next slide. And I also want to just tell briefly the story of Portland's leadership. Portland was one of the first cities to make a commitment way back in 1993 to address carbon emissions. And at the time, we were really framing it around global warming and develop a global warming reduction strategy. Through many, many years and many hours and work of all the people, of many people here, both before BPS existed as well as during BPS, there's been various climate action plans over the years, and you all are in this exciting next phase of that being one of your main tasks as we get into the future of leading Portland forward in the next climate action plan. But we have a legacy to build on of past work and also past policies, including things like 2017, 100% renewable energy resolution. And then in 2018, as Raphael said, this landmark moment where the Portland Clean Energy Fund was created by Community Vision. And then in the last few years, there's also been action, climate emergency declaration that accelerated some of our goals and put some actions in particular in front of city bureaus to address. And then the climate emergency work plan, which has been tracking those goals. In 2023, we passed as Portland Clean Energy Fund, the first 5-year climate investment plan, which is something that Raphael is going to talk about a little bit next. And go to the next slide.
So this is the gap we're trying to bridge. There's this bold community vision with a very clear mission and really, really lofty goals for our climate team. There, how do we scale up? How do we use the investments to address not just the short-term concerns, but also mid and long-term range goals? What was built by community leaders, advocates, organizers has now brought in larger institutional partners. And how do we grow this grassroots vision into a bottom-up movement backed by Portlanders, but using access to all of the institutional resources that we have available? Because at the end of the day, no one of us is as strong as all of us. And so let's go to the next slide to talk about how we grew this. Well, all the big questions, right? The money, the ballot measure, the mechanics, nuts and bolts. It was approved as we established in November 2018. It's funded by a 1% surcharge on large retail corporations with over $1 billion in national sales and $500 million locally, not including essential items like medicine and groceries. City Council enshrined that measure into city code, establishing the Portland Clean Energy Community Benefits Fund. And today, PSEF generates about $200 million a year to invest in lowering carbon emissions, creating good paying green jobs, and making Portland more climate resilient. Next slide, please. But it's not just about funding, it's about trust and accountability. PSEF is guided by a 9-member volunteer committee. It's made up of everyday Portlanders representing various communities, workforce, academia, nonprofits, small businesses, and others. They are appointed by the mayor, confirmed by city council, and entrusted to ensure every dollar serves the community and stays true to the vision that created it. Next slide, please. Which leads us to the climate investment plan. This is our framework, our blueprint. So at the core of our work, the climate investment plan, which we sometimes refer to as the CIP, is our roadmap for deploying $1.6 billion over a 5-year period towards climate solutions. Every investment moves us towards a future that's more resilient and climate ready. And again, ensures that every dollar is aligned with our goals and community priorities. Next slide, please. The CIP has 3 main components. Let's sort of 3 avenues for funding. There's community grants. This is the cornerstone that supports nonprofit-led community projects, mostly localized, very clear in need and priority. We then have strategic programs, which are larger scale initiatives implemented with institutional partnerships, many of whom are city bureaus, but also others. And then there's Collaborating for Climate Action, which is the major cross-sector efforts involving community leads, commercial entities, and institutional partners that like governments and school districts. So together, these three channels allow PSEF to fund everything from small grassroots ideas to citywide climate solutions. Next slide, please. And our work falls into these 7 funding areas. Generally speaking, it's energy efficiency, renewable energy, transportation, decarbonization. And we have a few slides following here to sort of unpack some of this. But these areas reflect both climate science and community needs, and they are also sort of the buckets in which our investments fall. Next slide, please. There's energy efficiency and renewable energy. These investments help Portlanders reduce emissions while improving comfort and lowering bills. We fund upgrades in residential homes and nonprofit buildings, as well as community solar projects. The benefits are clear. It's cleaner energy, healthier homes, and long-term affordability. Next slide. Next slide. Oh yeah, so they had a little hidden thing in there. Apologize.
Yeah.
And transportation decarbonization. Transportation is our largest emission source. I think many people in the room know that. Community-led mobility solutions like access to e-bikes, charging, and safe routes are essential to meeting our carbon goals, and they help ensure that the transition to clean transportation is also equitable. Next slide. Regenerative agriculture and green infrastructure. We invest in food and land systems. Regenerative agriculture increases access to local healthy food while storing carbon in the soil. Green infrastructure like tree planting, depaving, and habitat restoration makes neighborhoods cooler, safer, more resilient. Next slide, please. Workforce and contractor development. One of the big promises of PSEF is to bridge that gap into a green sector workforce. Climate action requires a skilled workforce, and so we support training programs, apprenticeships, and business development services, especially for diverse groups, marginalized groups, women, BIPOC-owned contractors. This builds long-term career pathways and grows local capacity for all the climate-related work we're trying to invest in. Next slide. So the evolution here, if we just sort of capture the story from the ballot measures, we initially invested in those community grants, building the foundation for PSEF, looking at localized community projects. As that vision grew and evolved, we brought in larger institutional partners to look at transportation and urban forestry and some of the other infrastructure investments that needed to be made. And then sort of brought it all together with this Collaborating for Climate Action, where we could bring large institutional partners with climate leads to meet those goals together. And so the roles of the PSEF committee and council are sort of laid out here. They're very defined roles. The PSEF committee adopts the methodology to measure, track, and report the effectiveness of PSEF's investments. They adopt the workforce and contractor equity plan, and they recommend to council 3 things: the climate investment plan, that blueprint for spending the money, the amendments to that CIP plan, that is every year when we revisit, we try to track and see where projects are. Not all of them are moving at the same pace. Some of them are moving faster, some are moving slower, and so there's that opportunity for an adjustment. And then changes to the PSEF code. If there are larger sort of structural changes, that all is recommended from the PSEF committee. They do not recommend individual grant awards. We have an internal process for that that also includes community panelists as well as subject area experts. And they ensure community voice, equity, and accountability in guiding program direction. City Council, for their part, approves that climate investment plan, the amendments and any changes to city code, and they authorize annual budget and program actions consistent with that adopted CIP.
All right, now I'm going to talk a little bit about those 3 funding areas and give some highlights and examples of the projects in those. Let's see, I'll adjust so it's looking at me. So community grants is really, the origin of PSEF was as a community grant making entity. And that really still remains. The bulk of the people we have working at PSEF are focused on the community grant programs that are going out with our partners and nonprofits who are applying for and then delivering those projects. Go ahead and next slide. And so the community grants truly are community-led. We're responsive to applications that come in. Projects, however, do have to really meet those key goals of PSEF, of leading to greenhouse gas reduction or sequestration, and also providing community benefits directly. advancing the social and economic and climate justice of Portlanders. Nonprofit organizations are those that are eligible to apply for those, and it's a competitive process. You can see here kind of the designation, but we do allow smaller organizations that might not have their own 501c designation yet to partner with a fiscal sponsor in order to do a project. And the projects must benefit Portlanders. For physical improvements, they must be located within the city boundaries of Portland. And then for workforce development projects, recognizing the real and significant displacement that has happened to a lot of our communities, including our priority populations, those are more expansive, where the workforce training and the people participating in workforce training can come from anywhere in the Portland metropolitan statistical area, which just means basically Multnomah County, Clark County up in Washington, Clackamas, and Washington County. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And so we have had 3 major grant rounds so far. You can kind of see the evolution of this and the growth over time. We learned a lot in our first 2 grant award rounds as we were ramping up the program for Portland Clean Energy Fund. And then we were able to really scale starting in the 2024 round. And so you can see the count there of the number of projects. And, you know, I will say also our first round included a lot of planning projects as well that we're now seeing manifest into full implementation. And it's really cool to see that evolution. This isn't on the slide, but in the next couple of weeks, you'll also see announcements that'll be really exciting out there in the community about our 4th 2025 award, 4th round of our 2025 awards, totaling about $64 million. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And so we have a variety of different funding opportunities, both in the planning and implementation at different scales. But we also have this $5,000 mini grant application process, which is a quarterly process for organizations that want to either do a small project or that need resources to be able to implement the beginning of a vision to then apply for a greater amount of funds in a future round. And so I know we're running low on time, so I'm not going to go through the entire slide, but this is really kind of like the seed funding many times for project idea that then can receive technical resources or go out and do community engagement to then build that into a full implementation project in future years. Then we have our strategic programs, which are a significant portion of the total funding in PCEF, and there are 37 different strategic programs in our climate investment plan. So I do not have time now to go through all of those, but these are ones that are implemented either sometimes through city bureaus, like urban forestry, doing street tree planting throughout the community, or the city of Portland's fleet and facilities, which is doing decarbonization of our whole city fleet through partially through PCEF funding. And then there's other programs that are like our strategic program 3, energy friendly homes, which are administered and delivering benefits directly to Portlanders and improving the energy efficiency and resilience and comfort of their homes. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And so these are some programs that we have coming up that are either already launched or in pilot phase, and you'll be hearing more about as we get into 2026, including the Equitable Tree Canopy Program with Portland Parks Urban Forestry, that energy-friendly homes program that I mentioned, as well as a very exciting e-bike rebate program that launched just about a month ago with PCC students as the first cohort, and then we'll be doing a full launch early next year. Then we have the Collaborating for Climate Action grants, which were a process that we went through. It was a competitive grant award opportunity that we frankly had way more applications for than we initially expected we would get. And these are for large projects, ones that really we set up, or committee set up the structure of having public entities only be able to apply if they had a nonprofit partner or community partner as part of their team. And this awarded a total of 7 different awards through a total of $300 million. And so I don't have time to go through all of them, but I'm going to highlight one here in the next slide, which is our Sidewalks to Schools Collaborating for Climate Action Grant Award, which is implemented by Portland Bureau of Transportation in conjunction with or in partnership with Oregon Walks. And this is going to make investments in over a dozen different sidewalk connecting areas between public schools and ways for people to be able to, you know, as children or parents, walk to those schools. And also, I mean, obviously for everybody in that area to be able to safely walk and get around their neighborhood. So when we look at the totality of the Portland Clean Energy Fund Climate Investment Plan and that $1.6 billion, these are kind of the big buckets that projects fall into in terms of who's implementing them. So as you can see here in the green, city bureaus are implementing a significant portion of total funds, about $740 million over that 5 years. Nonprofit community grants remain kind of that $363 million total. And we have competitive RFPs for 7 strategic programs. And then we have funding that's allocated through the CIP for public schools, as well as improvements that are going to TriMet and the 82nd Avenue corridor. I know we have some more stories to share, but we only have a few minutes, so we're gonna have to zip through.
Give me a 60-second sprint. Let me just at least speak to some of the beneficiaries because it's critically important. You know, we're evolving quickly because obviously climate change demands urgency. Next slide. I just want to tell some of the stories of the beneficiaries and some of the examples of human impact. This is Mama Sue during Portland's deadly 2021 heat dome. 70 people died in their homes without air conditioning. Most of them were elderly, low income, living alone. Mama Sue was one of the many at risk, and she had to leave her home and move in with her son, and was heartbroken not knowing she was going to be able to move back. But today, thanks to Cooling Portland and other local community partners, Mama Sue has a free cooling unit installed in her home, and she's in the place that she loves. She's safe, she's cool, and she's just one of over 20,000 people that were reached by this program. Next slide. Sammy Lewis, through a partnership with big shout out to Community Energy Project, Sammy received over $44,000 in home upgrades, a heat pump, attic insulation, duct improvements, rooftop solar panels. And so the results are that her energy use dropped by 20%, her bills dropped by $1,000 a year. But more than savings, Sammy gains comfort and security and climate resilience in her own home. Next slide. Regenerative agriculture. DeRose Community Bridge operates a 1-acre farm where refugee and immigrant women grow food, earn income, build community. And these women who come from the Congo, Somalia, Burma, are shaping a resilient food system while supporting one another, increasing social cohesion, preserving their cultural practices. Next slide. Our last example, Deepave and Mudbone Grown at Morningstar Baptist Church in the Cully neighborhood. Deepave and Mudbone Grown transformed 10,000 square feet of unused pavement and parking lot into usable community space. There's gardens there now, gathering area, shaded walkway. They have a preschool in their community hall. It's an incredible start to a real resilience hub, something we talk about all the time, but not often enough get implemented. And this, just the last slide, just, you know, the things that we've learned. Community leadership matters. It has to stay central to what we're doing. We have to stay focused on frontline communities while balancing transparency with timely action. Capacity matters. Not all the work can be done today because the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. And understanding like how we can get there together is pretty important. And adaptation is essential, whether it's supply chain disruption or emergency response. PSEP tries to stay as flexible as we can to meet those challenges squarely. And so adaptive governance has allowed us to grow while staying aligned with community needs. And then boom, thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Raphael and James. We have quite a few questions from commissioners.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna read them, or actually I'm gonna ask the commissioners to verbalize them in order of submission. So Commissioner Duncan, do you want to share your question?
Yeah, first, I accidentally clattered 2 questions into one. So ignore the second. Microphone. Thank you. Okay, so I'm wondering if you guys can speak to, I'm thinking about, doing energy efficiency in housing as a way of managing to conserve heat and cooling and the energy that goes into that. But I'm wondering, I didn't think that PSEF focused only on electrically heated and cooled housing, that they also dealt with housing for citizens who use gas. I'm just wondering how we reconcile, in effect, extending the life and the lock-in of those gas furnaces, with putting energy efficiency into the houses for the people who live there.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner Duncan. Within our eligible measures in PSEP, we do not fund fossil gas fired appliances. And within the strategic program 3, that energy friendly homes, we really do have a significant amount of resources that can be brought to bear on whole home energy retrofits, including, replacing a gas furnace with a efficient heat pump that would provide both heating and cooling. And so we do have those opportunities to not just do the insulation and do the weatherization, but also to switch out the heat source. So that is very much within the vision of what we're
But
funding.
would you do the insulation in a house that had a gas furnace in the basement and the owner did not want to dispense with it?
Yeah, I guess best way to say it is that the program will develop a list of eligible measures. It is always the homeowners or the opportunity will be there to choose. It's not like we're dictating what's done, but that would be an option theoretically, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. The next question is from Co-Chair Guillermo Borgeson.
Yes, hi, Jose Mayor Georgeson, he, him pronouns. When you talk about workforce development, do you work with unions to ensure the workforce is covered by unions, make sure they're have all the protections that a union provides?
Yeah, we do. We work with contractors, with unions. We have a high road standards council, a high road advisory council. And that's made up of union representatives, contractors, workforce. And so we have like broadening conversations about how to include all, of course, there's so many different sectors that include workforce development. It's everything from youth to union members who are transitioning into new jobs to people who have never entered to the workforce and are trying to find what those green sector jobs look like. And so I'd say like there's many paths to the top of the mountain, but the view is the same for everyone. We're just trying to make sure everybody's ushered up to that view.
Okay, the next question is from Commissioner Pacharu.
Hi, Commissioner Lena Pachler. Thank you so much for sharing this. I was very excited to hear about the updates and just the overall vision and to implementation. My question was around in terms of accountability and making sure we are investing towards the most impactful projects. How are we measuring carbon reductions in these investments? And it seems like a lot of the budget is pre-allocated over the 5 years. So is there room for change over the years as things shift?
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Commissioner. So we do, as PSEF staff, when applications, let's talk about, I guess, the grant process. We do review and make estimates of the emissions reduction potential of a project as it comes in. And then there is quarterly reporting that every single grantee and in our strategic programs, every single city bureau is reporting quarterly on their progress towards goals and metrics that they have as part of the grant. And so then there is the, I'd say, sort of reconciliation of those benefits or carbon emission savings as we see the project get implemented. And then we do have a data dashboard that you can find online. Right now, it just captures the grant side of things, and we're incorporating the many, many, many data points that it takes to also bring in our strategic programs. But that is part of both the award process as well as the kind of ongoing performance measurement. Though I will say that it's not just, our program has never been framed as just one for trying to get the lowest dollar value per emissions, per ton of emission savings. It's really about that balance of community benefits and carbon reduction. To your second question, yes, we do have the opportunity to adjust during the 5-year climate investment plan. And in fact, we're going through a small kind of annual review and update process right now that we anticipate that we'll learn things as we go along, and that there'll be a need for, small changes either in scope or in funding allocation over the course of the 5 years. So that is built into the continuous improvement of the climate investment plan over its term. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, the next question is from Commissioner Trifon.
Hey, James. Dan, Trifon, he,
Commissioner, we can
him.
hardly hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Second.
Uh-oh, I'll talk a little louder.
Yeah.
Greetings.
We can barely hear you.
Barely, okay. Let me adjust my mic.
I can read your, oh, wait, test your audio one more time.
I'm just seeing my mic. Can you hear me?
Perfect, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi, Dan, Trifon, he, him, District 3. Yeah, James, my question was about, I know that the funding obviously has to stay in the city limits of Portland, but I'm wondering how much other kind of regional thinking or collaboration you all might be doing. A couple of areas of the county that come to mind are Rockwood, right? And other areas. And I wonder if there's ever been or any thoughts or any consideration on some kind of, neighbor collaboration, even with other municipalities. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Or I guess Commissioner Trifon, sorry. I know Dan personally, so I'm a little more casual. And yeah, I'll try to speak a little further away. The code requirements are that the physical investments that we make have to happen within the city of Portland. However, we do fund education and outreach campaigns and work that helps educate people about how to access other energy efficiency programs that can include people who don't live in the city. And so we have funded organizations working in East County. It's just we can't put money into people's homes unless they are within the city boundaries. So I think, we always encourage partners and grantees to collaborate and to braid together multiple sources of funding or, bring their own expertise about who they're going to serve. But in our grant programs, it doesn't mean that a grantee can't educate people outside of the city of Portland, if that's kind of what you're getting at. It's just physical improvements can't happen outside there.
Thank you. We're going to take one more question, commissioners. I know there's several in the chat and I've been trying to work our way through them, but we're technically 10 minutes behind and I want to get y'all out of here on time. So we'll take one more and then we'll encourage you to reach out directly to James and Raphael with your questions that we didn't get to address this evening. So we'll move forward with Commissioner Bice's question.
Commissioner Dana Visi, District 4, she, her. Well, I had two questions. Can I ask both? One is just like, what do you envision? First of all, I wanted to say I'm a huge fan of PSEF and I really congratulate you on all the amazing work that you're doing in the community. And just, this is an incredible model for other cities. And I hope that there's other cities looking at this program. I'm wondering what you envision, how collaboration can happen with this commission and with your role and where there might be kind of how we can support your work and how it can advance climate work kind of more broadly. And then more of a political question. There's been pushback about the program and there's been some questions about its sort of sustainability over time because of within the business community or even some leadership wanting to curb funding with it. And so where do you think that's at now, especially with federal kind of politics and it being a precarious time for a lot of climate work? How stable is this program long-term and how can we support your work? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the questions. And I'll try to be brief, even though there's a lot there. I would say broadly, there is a recognition that this is an amazing resource that, especially at this time when federal programs have gone away or are sunsetted, this gives us as Portland an opportunity to save Portlanders money, make investments in our community and make people's homes, more comfortable and really continue on our road of climate action decarbonization, even if the rest of the national politics are not headed that direction. And so I think it gives us a really good opportunity to do that and to continue telling that story. And that's probably the part that we need to do more, maybe tying it back together. We need to do more of the storytelling of the impact of our programs on the community. And I think that is going to be key. Raphael looks like he wants to say something too.
I do, because I think it's pretty important. Firstly, thank you for the question. I think our work is the same work. We obviously are different tools to sort of build the same thing. But in terms of the money, as somebody who's out there blocking and tackling often on some of these questions on, is it too much? It's an illusion of abundance. I mean, I think this idea that people hear $1 billion and they're like, oh, that can solve all the problems, but it can't. And I think that's the challenge. the challenges that climate change brings are much more than the money that we have. And that puts all the more pressure on us to be impactful with every penny.
Then we might not have addressed your first question, but are we,
Yeah, go
we
ahead.
can come back. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'll put our contact information in the chat, once we get back to the seats. So,
Thank you, James and Raphael. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
all.
being here.
what do you want to do with the mic here?
Oh, you can just give it to me.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you guys.
All right, commissioners, we are now going to transition to your break. Instead of 10 minutes, you have 5 minutes. Sorry. So use those 5 minutes wisely and we'll see you back here. Bye. Thank you so
To
much.
get to the rest, but not to get back.
Kick off.
Go to the movies right after this.
Are you, what are you gonna say?
Wicked for Good.
Yes, I can't wait to see it. Oh my gosh.
You know, today.
All All right, commissioners, we're gonna go ahead and get started. If you're still chewing and enjoying some food, that's totally fine. Take good care of yourselves, but we're gonna get rolling. Okay, our next agenda item for the evening is revisiting the working agreement. So remember, we had interim working agreements that we're utilizing right now. We're gonna go back and start to refine those based on submitted track changes and any live revisions that are entered into the chat. So we're gonna test our best practice. Okay. So the next two slides are refreshers from the beginning of the meeting. This is a reminder that we are going to discuss and potentially amend the all-up draft, and then you will vote to adopt your amendments. So just a reminder, we'll display that all-up draft, a live review. Live amendments must be typed in the chat. Commissioners can discuss all amendments via the all-up. And as the document is being submitted, those track changes and changing in real time. And then any commissioner can move to vote, but you must clearly specify what you'd like to vote on and the text that is being considered. You can vote on specific amendments or do a whole package. And then the proposal will be approved or not through modified consensus. All clear? Okay, so those slides should just be refreshers for you all. Okay, a reminder about voting procedures. A commissioner has to make the proposal for a vote. I cannot do that. I can only call the vote once a proposal has been made. You will cast your vote as affirmative, stand aside, or no, and then we'll see if the item passes. Again, you can do an individual amendment or vote or a package of amendments as a vote. Okay. All right. And go to the next slide.
I think it's just sharing.
Okay. Do we want to go? Oh, here's a go. Bear with us. There we go. Okay, so now we're seeing the live version of the all-up file. If you were able to view this prior to today's meeting, this should feel familiar. Nothing has changed between when it was posted and now. However, if you would like to enter any revisions, you can do so in the chat. If you have any questions about any of the track changes, you can raise those questions. Just a reminder to use the raise hand feature in Zoom so that I can call on commissioners accordingly. Okay, so I can see folks are reading and digesting the track changes. If there's any items for discussion or questions, feel free to raise them. And I see that Commissioner Mott's story has entered a revision in the chat. And so Wing's going to put that directly in the file. Okay, thanks, Wing. Okay, Commissioner Kaza has entered a revision into the chat. Okay, that's being entered. Perfect. Items for discussion or additional revisions? Okay. Okay, and Elaine on staff has just requested that there's an edit to the previous amendment that we do not use any abbreviations but full names for clarity. Okay, any other additional revisions? Items for discussion? Yes. Commissioner Shondas.
Hi, just really quickly, most of these, I'm curious about the online dimension of our meetings and wondering about any need to include something about checking chats or other approaches that allow folks online to be able to participate. I mean, that's just one subtext of this that seems to be yeah, I don't know. That might be relevant. Wondering if others feel like that is something we need to include in this as well. It just occurred to me as I'm online and I expect to be in person, but I just wanted to like, what about the people online who might not be able to, you know, yeah. So
I'm seeing some nodding in the room. Do any commissioners want to verbalize their support, need for clarification? Okay, Commissioner Kaza.
Stephanie Kaza, Commissioner District 3. I'm not quite clear what was being raised. The people online can enter things in the chat. Was this a suggestion to put it into the working agreements in some specific way? Like to listen better, be sure you check your chat regularly. Is that what was being implied?
I think so. I think that sounds right. Just something that and it allows for folks online to be brought into the conversation. Again, Vivek Shandas, District 2, he, him, his. Sorry about that.
Okay. Commissioner Shondas, do you want to take a first pass at maybe entering some text into the chat to introduce
Yeah,
them?
I'll give it a try. Yeah, sure.
You can do it. I believe in you.
We'll
Okay.
see.
Commissioner Pacharan.
Alina Hatchlern, she, her pronouns. I'm just gonna enter my proposal in the chat, but I was agreeing to what the last sentiment was.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Zahn.
Hi, yeah, Jessica's on District 1, she, her. Can I ask a clarifying question if the extent of the working agreements applies only to when we're in this meeting, or does it also apply to subcommittees and how we maybe interact, like on email? Like, I think what Commissioner Shondas is starting to like touch on in my mind is, like email etiquette and, like, I mean, that feels like maybe a little but like obligations to respond promptly, right, to requests and things like that. And I'm wondering if we are starting to get into that, or the spirit here should really be focused on our live time together.
Great question. Do any commissioners want to respond? You have some thoughts? Yeah, go ahead, Elaine.
Elaine Visca Livingstone, Sustainability and Climate Commission Coordinator, she, they pronouns. The spirit behind the working agreements were to be working agreements, code of conduct, those type of agreements, communication agreements. So we do anticipate that you use this in meetings, in committees and subcommittees, work sessions, in email. The line to toe here is what is our working agreements or code of conduct, and then what processes are going to be developed in bylaws. If we want to create like respond by a certain time, we have to decide as a group, is that bylaws or is that working agreements?
Commissioner Poganara.
Hi, Maya Pagarana, District 2. I was just going to respond to Commissioner Shonda's comment about the hybrid mode, and I'm wondering what's the methodology for the co-chairs in terms of facilitating the meeting? Because to me, that feels more like the facilitator's role to either monitor the chat or like pay attention to the chat and call that out, as opposed to a specific working agreement amongst us. And I'm just curious, what's the methodology or approach that the co-chairs will be, and does that pertain to the working agreements?
That's a good question.
I will say in my experience that different coaches do it a little differently. We have done a lot with chat, so you have to monitor the chat a lot more. I've been a part of other commissions that everyone just raises their hand and everyone does it on Zoom. So that way there is no online versus in-person bias because the hands are all have to be on Zoom, which is another reason why it's good that we keep that as a matter of our process. I will say that I skipped over people all the time because as you go on, you'll find that some of us like to talk more than others. So if we're halfway through a meeting and there's a few people that have spoken a lot more, I might go to like the fifth person in line if they have yet to say something. But that's, again, every co-chair does it different. That's just something I tend to do. We could put some of those processes online, but I think these are more like philosophies and the coaches should take these and facilitate in a manner that they feel meets these.
I'll also be sharing as the facilitator, facilitation best practices with both co-chairs and providing some light support to prepare them for the December meeting and for the upcoming retreat, especially ESEF. So those will be shared and very transparent of what those best practices are and how other commissioners can utilize them, especially in working settings like committees. Okay. I see that there's been quite a few revisions entered into the chat by Commissioner Ware and Wayland, and Commissioner Trifone. So Wing, I just want to make sure you're tracking those. I know you're working diligently back there. Any questions?
Wayne Grabowski, he, they pronouns. I'm tracking anything that looks like absolute language that should be entered into the agreements. The additional working agreement for consideration from Commissioner Terfone is not exact language, so I haven't entered it. It's a general proposal. I can enter that, however, I would need a little direction.
Mr. Trifone, do you want to come off mute and contextualize this proposed?
Yeah. I don't know. It just, as like the conversation has moved to like kind of a philosophical zone too, I was like, just this could be, we don't have to go this direction, but like maintaining hope and optimism was kind of like a phrase that was kind of coming to mind. And I was wondering how maybe other commissioners might feel about something like that if we want to kind of go also into a philosophical route, besides kind of we're also bringing up a kind of another piece of this, which is kind of more of, protocols and things like that. But that's maintain hope and optimism, I guess, would be the baseline sentence.
Commissioner, I'm going to ask that you take a first pass at some language that you maybe want introduced. So Wayne can potentially copy and paste that if you'd like. Okay, Commissioner Mott's story.
Damon Mott's story, they, them, District 1. Commissioner Trifone, I really appreciate the suggestion, but I pretty strongly disagree with including something like this on our working agreements because to me, the purpose of this sort of a document is so that we are all accessibly able to participate in meetings with each other, right? That everyone's included and every perspective is welcome. And like, to me, I think you're kind of getting at something that's a little bit more values based and a little bit less of like sort of something that is like a basic standard of conduct that helps enable everyone to participate fully. And for what it's worth, I think sometimes we have to lean into some of the negative, bad stuff in order to do our jobs properly and like wrestle with the mess and the struggle. Check.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, I'm seeing a few other revisions entered into the chat. Wing, let me know if you have any clarifying questions.
Thank you. Yeah, point of process. One was a recommendation for change to the title of the document. It was requested that I add that, but I can't, there's nowhere in the document to add that, so.
Big Swing, Elaine Visca Livingstone, Sustainability and Climate Commission Coordinator. It is in the header of the document. Yes.
Wayne Grabowski, he, they, her.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm also seeing, since I have the microphone on, I'm seeing Commissioner Weir's amendment inserted in the middle of a sentence that I think Commissioner Weir, you can clarify that that's a separate sentence, right?
Hi, Sue Swear, she, her, Commissioner. I was just thinking that if we did want to include a digital or online reference, it might be easiest to add it after the most inclusive conversation possible in person and online. It's kind of like, if that's something that we do want to point to, that's a pretty easy way to add it without changing wording. But if we do want to look at other wording, I think that's great too.
Thanks for that clarification, Commissioner. Thanks, Elaine. Okay. Any other items for discussion or proposed revision to the working agreements? And Wing, can you confirm that you've captured all revisions up to Commissioner Apter?
Wayne Grabowski, he, they. I can confirm that I've captured all to Commissioner Gamero Georgeson at 7:32 p.m. in the chat, and I'm trying to place that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Kaza.
Stephanie Kaza, Commissioner District 3, she, her. There's the editor in me is noticing that some of these are as command statements, which imply that somebody's going to enforce them, or if you don't obey, whereas there are others that are begin with things like "we are all good people," that are like an encouraging statements, or forgiveness fosters safety. So this would be a bigger level of edit, but my own personal preference would be to kind of ease off of the command statements. But if it only bothers me, I won't make a big deal of it, but there's just a sort of general sense of what's the tone overall? And also, what's the accountability actually on this? And so a command statement is much more like, if you don't do this, if I think that you're not making every effort to speak truthfully, I should call you out. Is that, so that raises a bigger question, but I think you see where I'm going. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Apter.
Hi all, Commissioner Apter, she, her pronouns. Appreciate that question, Commissioner Kaza. I wonder if we might be able to try to address that with just the clarification of the preamble in terms of the following working agreements are an indication of our intent. We're committed to following these working agreements, but I don't think it's I think having a good balance in that preamble language would hopefully help address what you've flagged in terms of concerns around each of the working agreements being viewed as commands versus collective commitments.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any other thoughts? Okay, Wing, how are you doing over there?
Wayne Grabowski, he, they. I believe I've entered all statements. I do see an additional chat consideration from Commissioner Shondas.
Yes. So reconsidering the commissioner's request that was submitted previously. Great. Okay. Any other thoughts or items for discussion regarding tone for Commissioner Kaza's question?
I'm writing an idea, some wording.
Okay, and I see a withdraw from Commissioner Trifone. Okay, and Commissioner Kaza agrees with the current approach. Okay. All right, how are we feeling about these working agreements in their current shape and form? Oh, Wing, yes, sorry.
I'll Apologies, Wayne Grabowski, he, they. There is an additional recommendation for addition from Commissioner Kaza.
Okay. Okay. I see that now. Thank you, Wayne. Were you able to enter that? Or do you need clarification?
I need clarification. If you'd like to, Commissioner Kaza would like to enter the, revise the entire statement. I'm uncertain where the intention was that that statement would go.
Yeah, Commissioner Kaza, can you clarify that in the chat, actually?
That's a long sentence for me to retype into the chat in that opening. So if I could just say, way it currently reads is, we follow these working agreements. And my suggestion is to say, it is our intent to follow these working agreements. And that would address the earlier comment about this will be our intention rather than. Is that clear enough, Wayne? So it's right at the end of that first sentence. Instead of we follow, it is our intent to follow.
Oh, that's been.
Okay. Okay, there we go.
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, there is a response from Commissioner Gonzalez. Feel free to come off mute, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Commissioner Gonzalez, she, her, D4 district. I believe that that was covered with the previous edit of, we commit to the following working agreements. I don't know that it's necessary to change it to, it is our intent to follow these working agreements. I believe it was a previous version.
Discussion? Intent versus commit? The distinction here?
I think there's a very clear distinction myself.
Your name, Commissioner?
Commissioner Stephanie Gaza, District 3, she, her. The stating your intent is a place everybody can find common ground. And committing to it is what raises that level of checking and accountability. That's the way I hear it. And the intention lays a kind of groundwork, which seems like the spirit of this document. That's my opinion. Yeah.
Any thoughts, Commissioner Gonzalez? Or others? Okay, question, well, Commissioner Shondas has a question too. Are these working agreements public documents generally posted, or are they internal?
Elaine Vizca Livingstone, she, they pronouns, the Climate Commission Coordinator. These are publicly posted documents and will be part of our slide deck of each meeting. So this is a public document.
Thanks, Elaine. Commissioner Apter?
Thank you, Commissioner Apter, she, her pronouns. Just going back to this preamble question conversation, I agree there is a difference, as Commissioner Kaza said, between it is not our intent and we commit to, and I do prefer the latter. I think it is our intent feels a little bit more wistful than I would hope for what we are working on together and aligning on shared working agreements. And I think we are committing to something shows that that is that we are making, you know, every best effort and aligned in working toward these. So I think it provides the balance of this is what we are committing to. We are not held, you know, to it fully in terms of the accountability piece, and we'll make every best effort. But I do think having something a little bit stronger to demonstrate these alignment around these working agreements is important.
Commissioner Shondas.
Yeah, Commissioner Shondas, District 2, he, him. Commissioner Apter took what I was basically I'm reiterating what Commissioner Apter said in terms of whether the commission wants to think about this as a public document. And part of the reason I posed that question is it a strong statement, and a commitment to me is a stronger indication than an intention, which can be like goodwill and good expectation and application, though it's really in that sense, like if it's a public document and we all understand that this is something we're agreeing to and these are our working agreements, then it becomes a public document, is that it shows a much stronger recognition that these are things where we are careful about how we talk, we are timely, we are, on down the list. So yeah, I'm kind of leaning more towards a stronger commitment than otherwise.
All right, so you all know the power that you hold, which is a proposal for a vote. So I would recommend that you use your procedures strategically in this moment. Is there a call for a proposal? Reminder to specify exactly what that proposal is. Commissioner Kaza?
Commissioner Kaza, District 3, she, her. For clarification, is there a way we can see the entire document? Because we're only seeing partway through 4 now. And I can't remember what else is down there before we vote.
Yeah, Elaine Visca Livingstone, she, they. If you need me to scroll down, please let me know to scroll down, and you can put it in the chat and I'll scroll down.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Guillermo Jordan.
Yes, I think the one piece that people have the most feelings about, let's say, is intent versus commit. So I propose that we vote on that one just by itself. That we take one or the other, but if it's yes or no, then I would say let's vote on commit instead of intent. See how that comes out.
Okay, are you formally
Yes.
proposing a vote?
I
Okay,
propose
so
a vote.
the vote is for the word commit to be entered into these working agreements. Okay. All that vote stand aside, raise your hand in Zoom. Raise your hand in Zoom. Okay, you tracking, Elaine? Okay. Commissioner Shondas and Commissioner Kaza. No, it's okay. I mentioned that there would be time needed to track. Okay, you can lower your hands, commissioners. All those that are voting no, please raise your hand in Zoom. Okay, and all those that are voting affirmative, raise your hand in Zoom. Just a moment while we tally. It's okay. Okay, Commissioner Duncan, we got you. Commissioner Shondas, you voted stand aside and affirmative. Do you want to clarify?
Yeah, I think Commissioner Shondas, District 2, he, him. I think I misunderstood the initial call to vote I was interested in keeping it as it is our we commit to follow these.
Yeah, yeah, that is what we're voting. So you are affirmative,
Got it.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, you want to call it out, Elaine? Okay, that proposal passes. 14 affirmative, 1 stand aside. All right, nice work. The work continues. Is there another proposal based on the current status of the working agreements? Oh, Wing.
Test. Wing Grabowski, he, they, point of process. Can you confirm the final language by placing in the chat or?
Yes.
Okay.
we can.
Or propose another method? Okay.
Good call. Thanks, Wayne. Okay, all the commissioners that currently have their hands raised, you can lower them, please. Thank you. Okay. Are there any other proposals at this time? Okay, Commissioner Apter has a revision to the preamble.
That's what it was.
Oh, that is,
yeah,
okay,
it was.
thank you for that clarification. Elaine, can you scroll down, please? Thank you. Quick time check, it's 7:49. Okay. So one point of clarification is there is not current consensus on the document title. So if there is a proposal for that, or a clear revision for that, that would be helpful. Commissioner Mott-Story.
Damon Mott's story, they, them pronouns, District 1. Thank you, so sorry. I propose that we do a vote to keep it as working agreements.
Okay. Let's move forward with that vote. The vote is to continue using the title working agreements for this document. Using your Zoom hand, all those that are voting stand aside, please raise your hand in Zoom. Okay, all those that are voting no, please raise your hand in Zoom now. All those voting affirmative, please raise your hand in Zoom. The proposal passes. Thank you, Commissioner Mott-Story. Other proposals at this time? You may lower your hands, commissioners. Thank you. Okay, I see a question from Commissioner Shondes. Feel free to come off mute, Commissioner Shondes, with that question, but for now we'll go to alternate Dancy.
Thanks. Alternate Sky Dancy. He, him pronouns, District 4. It's my understanding that alternates do not propose or vote. Is that correct? Then I might suggest that somebody call a question between the two versions of rule number or agreement number 1.
Okay, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Commissioner Gonzalez, District D4. That's what I was about to do. Proposal to vote on part 1 of speak with clarity and focus, share your thoughts truthfully and succinctly, staying on topic and respecting time limits and agenda allocations, and ending there. So not including the rest of that statement that's been crossed out.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. We'll move to a vote. All of those that are voting stand aside, please raise your hand in Zoom.
Sorry.
Yep.
Could somebody restate?
Sure, absolutely.
we're voting on.
The proposal is for section 1, for it to read, speak with clarity and focus, share your thoughts truthfully and succinctly, staying on topic and respecting time limits and agenda allocations and stopping there. The text that is strike through would be removed in section 1. That's what we're voting on. All clear? Okay. Those that are voting stand aside, please raise your hand in Zoom. Those that are voting no, please raise your hand in Zoom. Those that are voting affirmative, please raise your hand in Zoom. The item passes. Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. Okay, you may remove your hand or lower your hands, commissioners. Thank you. Don't remove your hands. You'll need them. You'll need them. Okay. Okay. All right, time check. It is 7:53. I see our co-chair has raised their hands.
We didn't have much discussion about the other changes, so I propose that we accept all the other changes.
All right. Okay, I'm seeing lots of head nodding. We've been waiting for this moment. All right, the proposal is to accept all remaining amendments as they are currently shown in what is before you in the working agreements live file. Let's move to a vote. All those that are voting stand aside, please raise your hand. In Zoom. All those that are voting no, please raise your hand in Zoom. All those that are voting affirmative, please raise your hand in Zoom. The item passes. Congratulations on your working agreements. Well done, commissioners.
No claps.
And it is not yet 8 o'clock. Where did you see that?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, based on the conversation,
Yeah.
requested proactively on the chat.
Oh, we addressed that.
We did.
Yes,
Okay,
we did.
okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
Congratulations.
Sorry, I just wanted to make
That's
sure.
okay. All right, Commissioner Gonzalez. Oh, is your hand just
Okay.
hanging around? That's okay. All right. All right, perfect. Let's move on to our last agenda item. Well done, commissioners. We'll get you out of here right on time. All right. We'll pull up the slide deck. Our last and final agenda item is the feedback form. So just a reminder, your feedback form is linked in your weekly high five. Please use that form this evening or first thing in the morning to get feedback to Elaine as soon as possible. The sooner we get your feedback, the faster we can make improvements for your next meeting. As a reminder, the next regular meeting is on Thursday, December 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. right here, same place, same time. But your co-chairs will be facilitating that meeting and they'll have facilitation best practices in their hand to support them through that process. A few other reminders, please respond to the February retreat scheduling form in your email. It's very important that we get that meeting on the calendar before the holidays so that we can continue planning because the youth commissioners are going to be designing that retreat, which is really exciting. As always, please reply to any quorum requests for the next meeting. If your plans change or for whatever reason you are sick and you cannot make it, please let Elaine know as soon as possible. Amendments for any next documents that are shared would be due on Monday, December 8th. We have the consideration from Commissioner Kaza for a reminder, whether that's a calendar appointment or otherwise. We'll respond to that and staff will send out that document for the next meeting. Otherwise, we will see you back here on December 8th. Any closing words?
Yes,
Vivian?
I have my hand raised. Thank you, Vivian Satterfield, she, her, your CSO. Congratulations, commissioners. You've now gone through and adopted your working agreements, but most importantly, went through a process orientation. I can see every time that we're going through this that you're getting more familiar with both the processes and that the muscle is being built for when there are more challenging conversations to come ahead. Mostly I want to use this time to not only appreciate you and your time, but also to appreciate Camille Trummer and her team at Interplay for helping to facilitate these last few meetings. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And big, huge thanks to Wing for helping us work through that live. Awesome.
All staff, as always,
Yes.
get home safe today. Thanks, folks.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our